Okay? And snake that's coiled up and ready to strike. And throughout Torah, God used snakes as forms of judgment. And then we have connection with Yahweh at the end of it, and then that connects with the spiritual kingdom. You can't look into it from below. It's something that's only visible by God and through His heavenly kingdom. So it's called, the Mimsafit is called the secret spiritual kingdom, and that it is a part of the kingdom of God. So we've got all the pictures here of righteous judgment, which is a building upon concepts on these pictorial letters. And the shin even looks like a tooth, and the pei looks a little bit like a mouth. And a tav is, it looks like a snake that's ready to strike.
It's a tet.
It's the tet. And then a yud, it's high up in the heavens. It's not reaching down to the earth line. And the Mimsafit on the end is pictorial of an enclosed secret kingdom. It's not the one that we live in here, but it's the secret kingdom. So that's what judges do. They listen to the words of the witnesses, and they render a judgment or verdict, and the one who's guilty is required to make a settlement. Next word we have is Shof'tim, Shotarim. That's officers. So here we have, let's just start highlighting letters and talk about it. There's the shin, judgment again, and the tet then is a part of that judgment. The disciplining arm of the judges is the officers. So they are a function of the court and the judges. So you would expect the first, that there would be some of these letters would cross over in this word, because the officers then are under the dictates of the executive office. They're not part of the judicial system, and yet what happens in the judicial system directly involves the officers, which would be the police officers. And they would then enact the rulings of the court and make sure that the responsible parties are taking care of their obligations. And then the next one is a resh. What does resh mean?
Poverty.
Poverty. But if you put God first in it, it becomes?
Inheritance.
Right. Yaresh means inheritance, and resh means poverty. So these officers have the power to effect either poverty or inheritance in the matters that are dictated by the courts, by the judges. Isn't that interesting that this all just flows smoothly here? And again, they are interfacing with Yahweh and the secret kingdom. So it's both of these have to do with the judgments of God and His rulings and His matters, the way He's instructed us to make restitution when restitution is intended or required. And then it says, you shall make these officers
Or give.
And now it's doing it again.
Titain is a form of notain,
Right,
which means to give.
right. Close the program again, and I'm going to switch over to the other Bible. I don't think I have that much trouble with it. I think we can use it almost as well here. I prefer the PC Study Bible, but when it's misbehaving, then I proact. And there it is. And we're going to look up Deuteronomy. Oh, I got to get it up here. We're going to do Deuteronomy chapter 16, verse 18.
Right.
16 and 18. And there we have Shof'tim and Shof'tim. If you'll scale your thing up to include strictly the top of verse 18 and down a little bit into 19, make your window fit that section from 18:1 down to about halfway down in 19. Hmm? Yeah. Okay. And that way it'll give a little bit of bigger letters up there. And hopefully everyone will be able to read it okay. Now I'm going to bring up the size of these Hebrew letters.
Cut off the top line.
Okay. You need to, the top line is missing, 18:1 is missing. There we go. And now I can bring this up a little too far. We'll go from there. Okay. This is Deuteronomy 16, verse 18. And it says literally, Shof'tim, which is judges, and Shof'tim, which is officers. And that would be like your police officers.
Yes.
T10, that means you shall give or place for you,
Yes.
Bikol Sha'arecha, in all of your cities.
Or gates.
Yeah, Sha'arecha is the gates, but the gates are usually in the walls around your city.
Okay.
So it's understood. In fact, if you look at the commentary over here, you'll see that it's indicating in your gates in the cities. So it's not the gates of your home, it's the gates of your city.
Okay.
So this is those cities which Yahweh, your God, gives unto you. Lishvatecha. See what that is. By your tribes. There's going to be tribes involved. Shaphat means literally it means literally the ruler staff of tribes or the areas. We have and that's judges. You shall rule the people by shpat with judgments, and tzaddik means righteous. And another place a little bit later on, he's going to say, tzaddik, tzaddik, you shall seek justice, you shall seek. Okay, it's really emphatic that God wants righteous judgments. Then we go on down to verse 19. Lo, tateh, you shall appoint Okay, I need to get over here and bring this one up too. You are not to appoint justice.
Well, to take actually means to slant.
Yeah, stretch or extend. So you're not to stretch or twist or pervert justice. Mishpat is the judgment. And not takir. Takir then would be to recognize or acknowledge because of someone's face, because they are maybe a notable person in Israel. They're looked upon as being holy, but maybe they're not holy. You need to judge that matter yourself. So you're not supposed to pervert or twist justice or judge based upon someone's face. Panim means face, and not tikach, and not take. Shachad. Shachad means
Bribes.
a bribe or a gift in a matter, because shochad, because the bribe aver, which means crosses over the judgment of the eyes and wisdom, and increasing the words of righteousness. Twist the words even of the upright, it says in the English. Tzaddik, tzaddik, there it is.
Tzedek, tzedek.
Tzedek, oh yeah, it's a serah, it's a segalet. So it'll be tzedek, tzedek, tirdof, you shall pursue righteousness to the end that tehiyah, you shall live, and that's chai is the root there, the shorish. Yarshata, and you shall inherit or take possession of. That's the yarish. You got the yud, resh, and shin, so that's yarish. So you will inherit the land which Yahweh your God has given unto you. 21. Lo tita. You are not to plant any sort of tree and not to plant any sort of a tree for you, which all of the trees, Eitzel, this is at the near the place of the, Eitzel means literally my place, well, Eitzli would be my place, Eitzcha would be your place or his place. So here, this is the place of the Mizbeach, the altar. So we're not going to be planting any trees by the Mizbeach of Yahweh, your God, which ta'aseh, which does, you shall do unto you. For you, and not to plant any tree of a sort as a sacred pole beside the altar of Yahweh your God that you will make for yourselves. Okay. A little different than the way it read in the Hebrew. Let me see what the misunderstanding is. Lo tita, you will not plant for you. Asher, Asherah. Oh, it's an Asherah pole. That's Asherah. That's a pagan symbol of fertility rituals. And every tree, Eitzel, which is near the place of the altar of Yahweh, your God, which ta'aseh, you will do for you, or make for you. So if you make an altar unto God, you're not supposed to put a tree next to it that could be considered part of these pagan symbols, like an evergreen tree or, So a lot of times the evergreen tree has kind of a spear point looking top on it, and that would be considered to be what the pagans would do in their temples. And it goes on in verse 22, and not takim. Takim, I believe, is set up. Yeah, it's from kum, lift up and raise. So the root there is kum.
Okay.
Not you shall raise up for you matseva, a memorial stone. That's like a pillar. The Washington Monument is one of those.
Mm-hmm.
And that particular one, if I'm not mistaken, actually did come from Egypt.
Oh, wow.
And that they're one of two twins that were brought over here, one of them for the Washington Monument, and the other one, I forget where it went, but I think it may have gone to England. And these are supposed to be for phallic symbols. And so anyway, yuck, yuck, oi, oi. Verse 22 again, which Shaneh, Yahweh, Saneh means literally he hates. Yahweh, your God, hates these things. So God is being very clear that he doesn't want to be treated like the rest of the gods, like the pagans treat their gods. Yes, sir?
What do you mean by phallic?
The penis.
You had to ask.
Any other questions?
Not now.
I think I got a raised eyebrow out of that one.
Sit down.
Be careful what you ask. You may learn more than you wanted to.
I resemble that remark.
I'm going to see if there's a help on here for navigating. I don't see a question mark, so I don't know. Anyway, we'll just go ahead and move it this way. Okay, no, tizbach. That's your no, not you shall sacrifice to Yahweh your God, sur, or sore, shore,
Oh, yeah, sure.
an ox or a bovine cow, v'seh, and that's sheep, I believe. Yeah, sheep. And then Asher, which Yahweh shall be in him, mum, spot, kol, daber, any matter, evil, ra. Okay, because toavat, because it's abomination to Yahweh your God. Yahweh your God is He. Okay. Continuing in verse 2, ki yamatzah, because. Wait a minute, this thing skipped a verse here.
No, you might say, you might say.
You are not to sacrifice to Adonai your God a cow or sheep that has a defect. That would be an abomination to your God. And it says actually Yahweh is He here.
Mm-hmm.
Was kind of hoping I would learn the shortcut for jumping verses down. Ki yimatzeh, if there is found in your midst, ba'echad, one she'arecha of your gates, in one of your gates, asher Yahweh Elohecha noten lecha, which Yahweh your God has given to you, ish or isha, a man or a woman, which ya'aseh, which does et hara, evil, ba'einei, in the eyes of Yahweh your God, le'avor, to go before or cross over, barito, his house.
Burrito.
Barito, in other words, to come into his house. Or transgressing his covenant. That's actually covenant.
Yeah, it is covenant, that's right.
Okay. Verse 3. Vayelech, and you shall go, or walk, vayavod,
And his servant.
he shall walk, and his servant, to serve, it shall walk and serve Elohim Acharim, other gods.
Right.
Vayishtachu, and bow down to them and worship them. Lahem is them. The la shemesh, the sun, or la yareach, the moon, or la chol, every tzavah, command, hashamayim, of the heaven, any of the hosts of the heavens, asher lo tziviti, which was not commanded.
Mm-hmm.
Let me get over here and see why my other side is not keeping up. Something I have forbidden. This one isn't easy for me to work with as the PC Study Bible is. V'hugad, and it is told to you, v'shamata, and you hear of it, v'darashta, and you understand it, you're to inquire, I guess it is. Daresh means to seek it out or study it out.
Okay.
Heitav, that it is correct or good. V'hinei, behold. Emet, it is true. Nachon, it is correct. Hadaber, the matter or word that you've heard. Ne'esta, to be done. It was definitely done.
Ose is the root.
Hatoava, it's an abomination. Hazeh, this is abomination in Israel. It says, V'hotzeta, you shall bring forth the ha'ish, the man, yahu, or et ha'isha, hahi, asher asu, which has done et hadaver, which has done this matter, hara, evil, hazeh, this kind of evil, el sha'arecha, within your gates, ha'ish o ha'isha, or sekolta. Now, I want to look that one up because I'm not familiar with that word. Sekol, to stone, ba'avanim, with stones. Evanim is, Evan is the root, meaning a stone. V'ametu, and he is to die, this person that has done this thing. I'm going to switch over to English here in just a few minutes and just go with English. On the mouth of Shainim, Adim, two witnesses, or Shelosha, three Adim, on the mouth of two or three witnesses. Yamat
Yuma.
means they shall surely die. and hamet. It repeats it for emphasis. Lo, yumat, they will not die on the mouth of witness echad, one witness. Yad ha'edim, the hands of the witnesses, tiyah, bo, they shall be on him.
Or they shall come.
Yeah, shall come to him, or
No, you're up. Put on.
shall bring him.
The hands are.
Rishna,
They're
they will be first. Rishna,
laying
Rishna.
hands.
First, beginning. They'll be the first to lay hands. Lahamito, yeah, to kill. And the hands of every of the people, ba'acharona,
What does that mean?
the biarta, to graze or to remove the evil, mikarbeka, between from your midst. So God's given some pretty serious instructions here. The witnesses are supposed to are supposed to be the first to cast stones, because why would you think that would be?
We're the accusers.
Exactly. Puts the matter seriously upon those who are accusing. Should make them think twice before standing as a witness against another brother, and make sure that they are correct before opening their mouths. Because pale, to be wonderful or miraculous, fearful, probably would be another case. Oh, if it's too big, too much, too frightening for you, mimaka for you, davor,
Devar.
the matter of judgment, bain dam ladam. In other words, somebody's accusing something worthy of death. Dam to dam.
Between blood and blood.
Bain din ladin, or if the Bet Din, House of Judgment, is not able to render a verdict for some reason. Ubain nega la nega. And that sounds like personal injury. Let me just look and see what it says here. Illness, plague, or wound.
Yeah, mine is plague. Between plague and plague.
There we go. Okay, now it says, in my anger will flare up. See, that's verse 16. I want to get back over here and okay. It says, then My anger will flare up, and I will abandon them and hide my face from them. They will be devoured, and many calamities and troubles will come upon them. Then they will ask, haven't these calamities come upon us because our God isn't here with us? But I will be hiding my face from them because of all the evil. Because of all the evil.
Is it, or what verse are you in?
I'm in 17 still.
Chapter 17?
Yeah. And then they will ask, haven't these calamities come upon us because our God isn't here with us? But I will be hiding my face from them because of all the evil they have done in turning to other gods. Therefore, write this song.
I'm not following you.
This is verse 19.
Oh,
Write this song for yourselves and teach it to the people of Israel. Have them learn it by heart so that this song can be a witness for me against the people of Israel. For when I have brought them into the land.
no, that's where he's
This is verse 20 now.
so it's not become, that's, well, yeah, but it should be where the king has to write 2 copies of the Torah.
Are you on 17 or 16, 17? Rabbi?
I don't know where I'm at.
Okay.
Let me just find out here. Where are we at? What verse are we in, according to yours, John?
Are we at 17?
We're chapter 17.
Well,
Looks like I'm on verse 21 for some reason.
yeah, but that doesn't line up with what it says.
We in chapter 17?
Chapter 17, we left off between blood and blood, plague and plague, and you shall come to the Kohanim, the Levites, and to the judge, which is verse 9. 17:9 is where we were.
Okay, let me just see if I can get back up there.
The frogs like the rain. Hear 'em?
Uh-huh.
Oh, you're up on it. Beat. Sounds like an Almada out there.
17 verse 9. Adonai your God will choose and appear before the Kohanim. Is that right?
You shall come to the, yes, and whoever the judge will be in those days.
Okay.
At that time, yeah, that's it.
So he's going to appear before the Kohanim who are Levim. Why did he repeat that? What? Explain what your thoughts are on this, Yochanan.
That, well, of course, the Kohanim are Levites, but furthermore, that the Levites, well, there's some commentary right here.
Me Yethro. Yochanan. Me Yethro.
Who is Jethro? Why do you ask that?
I'm clarifying why he said the Kohanim of the Levim. Was Jethro a Cohen of the Levim?
No,
Who was he of?
the Midianites. Wasn't it?
Midianim. Uh-huh. So he was a priest of the Midianites.
Yeah.
He was not the priest of Yahweh. He was the priest of the Midianites. But he came to believe in Yahweh as the God above all gods when he heard the stories of Egypt and Israel coming out of Egypt.
Right.
So I felt like here that Moses felt it was important to make sure the people know that just because someone is called a Cohen doesn't make them a Cohen that God wants them to follow. It's the Cohen of the Levim that are to be followed.
Oh, I see.
Is that making sense?
Yeah.
There's always a reason. I'm kind of a geeky, gooky kind of guy that wants to dig to the bottom of the issue and find out the whys.
Every religion has priests.
Yeah. But are they all priests of Yahweh?
No.
No. Okay, so he says, and appear before the Kohanim who are Levim.
Mm-hmm.
And the judge in the office at that time seek their opinion, and they will render a verdict for you. You will then act according to what they have told you there in that place which Adonai will choose. You are to take care to act according to all of their instructions, in accordance with the Torah. They teach you, and you are to carry out the judgments that they render, not turning aside to the right or to the left from the verdict that they declare to you. So anyone presumptuous enough not to pay attention to the Cohen appointed there to serve Yahweh your God or to the judge, that person must die.
Yep.
What do we got in this country today? We've got a lot of people that don't regard the judges as being very important.
Yeah.
They don't listen to them as though they are the final word. And they don't have a fear of speaking evil against them. You hear that? That's not the way it's supposed to be with God and his judges. Of course, what we have in this country today are not God's judges.
True.
But we should still honor and respect those who are in authority over us. That's what Paul wrote. Not supposed to turn aside to the right or the left from the verdict that they declare to you. Now, you have a lot of people today that are, I know a lot of the prisoners in the prison system are trying to be their own attorneys, and they're filing these lawsuits, bottlenecking up the legal system because they are appealing the decisions and renderings of the judges.
Yeah.
Is that what this is talking about?
Not necessarily, especially if they actually do have a case where they are innocent. But at the same time, the system allows both innocent and guilty that access. So here, I guess they would depend upon the context of that individual
Right?
on a case-by-case basis.
With witnesses.
There you go.
And you know there have been some recent serious turnovers because of improper procedures, or because they didn't verify that the guy who was accused of murder, that they didn't actually have a way to verify his identity through the DNA checks and things that are available now. And they later come back and check his case and decide that, man, he wasn't the one.
Yeah, there's a lot of
And there's a lot of those going on right now.
Been serving all that time.
I kind of like the Justice Channel, because they cover a lot of that kind of stuff, and there's a lot of it goes on. They come back years later and find out who really did the murder, and they can prove it because of the DNA evidence that's left.
Mm-hmm.
So anyone that's presumptuous enough not to pay attention to the Cohen, appointed there to serve Yahweh your God or to judge, that person must die. Thus you will exterminate such wickedness from Israel. All the people will hear about it and be afraid to continue acting presumptuously.
Sounds like you're talking about the Sanhedrin,
Well,
the Kohen or to the judge. Kohanes can be judges.
Yes. Well, the high priest is supposed to be the same as the ultimate judge of the people. He's supposed to, whatever his word. If the courts can't decide it, then the high priest's word finalizes it, and nobody can argue with it, according to the Torah. When you've entered the land Yahweh your God has given you and have taken possession of it and are living there, you may say, I want to have a king over me, like all the other nations around me. In that event, you must appoint as king the one who Adonai, your God, will choose. Excuse me. He must be one of your kinsmen. This king you appoint over you, you are forbidden to appoint a foreigner over you who is not your kinsman. However, he is not to acquire many horses for himself or have people turn to Egypt to obtain more horses, inasmuch as Yahweh told you never to go back that way again. Yes, sir?
Are you aware of a recorded time in history that Israel has broken this commandment of
Yeah.
appointing somebody
Samuel.
outside?
Oh,
Shlomo. He increased wives and horses.
yeah.
There you
Keep
go.
going. Verse 17. Likewise, he is not to acquire many wives for himself, so that his heart will not turn away. He is not to acquire excessive quantities of silver and gold. Boy, Solomon, I think, broke both of those, didn't he?
Yep.
Yeah.
Who's not taking, and have excessive gold?
And so
You're not supposed to acquire excessive quantities of
he
silver
said,
and
who in
gold.
Context, who is this referencing?
This is the king that you establish for yourselves as a king over you.
Does that answer your question there?
Yes.
Verse 18, when he has come to occupy the throne of his kingdom, he is to write a copy of this Torah for himself in a scroll from the one the Kohanim and Levim use. It is to remain with him, and he is to read in it every day as long as he lives, so that he will learn to fear Yahweh his God and keep the words of this Torah and these laws and obey them, so that he will not think he is better than his kinsmen, and so that he will not turn aside either to the right or to the left from the mitzvah, the commandment. In this way he will prolong his own reign and that of his children in Israel. And chapter 18, verse 1 goes on again. The Kohanim who are Levim,
There it is again.
mm-hmm. And indeed, the whole tribe of Levi is not to have a share or an inheritance with Israel. Instead, their support will come from the food offered by fire to Yahweh and from whatever else becomes his. They will have no inheritance with their brothers because Yahweh is their inheritance. He has said to them, the Kohanim will have the right to receive from the people, from those who offer a sacrifice, whether an ox or sheep, the shoulder, the jaws, the facial fats are,
Cheeks.
yeah, those are some of the tastiest parts of the animal.
Barbacoa.
Yeah. And the stomach.
Oh, that's the maw.
What's the maw?
The maw, M-A-W, the maw.
What is it?
The stomach, I guess.
Evidently. Verse 4. You also give him the first fruits of your grain, new wine and olive oil, and the first of the fleece of your sheep. For Adonai your God has chosen him from all your tribes to stand and serve in the name of Yahweh, him and his sons forever. If a Levi, this is very interesting stuff that's coming up here. If a Levi from one of your towns, anywhere in Israel, where he is living, comes highly motivated to the place which Adonai will choose, then he will serve there in the name of Yahweh, his God, just like his kinsmen, the Levim, who stand and serve in the presence of Yahweh. such a Levi will receive the same share as they do, in addition to what he may receive from selling his inherited ancestral property.
See, that's where
Excuse
they
me,
didn't get an inheritance.
there's an error here. What's the error?
They don't get an inheritance.
Exactly. So what is this talking about in reality? Well, this is going to be chapter 18, verse 8.
It's referring to what they eat.
Let me just get into the Hebrew and we'll scroll down.
Okay, so the Levi will receive the same shares they do in addition to what he may receive from selling his inherited ancestral property. What is that word in the Hebrew that they put there for ancestral? Because I just now dawned on me, I've never seen that word ancestral used anywhere else in Old nor New Testament. So I'm curious to know what that is in the Hebrew and if that's a mistranslation.
Okay.
It's from their on their forefathers.
Well, I've got it right here.
That may clarify the question. I mean, the answer to the question. Can you hear me okay? Okay.
Kelek, Kikelek.
Kahel is the portion or share. The tribe of Levi was never given an estate
Right.
anywhere in Scripture. However, it is permitted for a Levi to purchase land for himself. And the Levites had a pretty good piece of property in Israel where it was prime space for raising lambs, because they had to provide spotless lambs for the sacrifices. If somebody couldn't afford or could not find a spotless lamb, then they were given the ability to have like a small parcel that was apportioned to them for raising lambs.
Okay.
And so there are other ways for them to have property. But that does not mean they get an inheritance. It wasn't given to them. They may buy it, but they can't have it given to them from the apportionment of coming up in the land. There wasn't a section for Levi.
Right. Except in the cities.
Yeah. So anyway, they have the right to buy and sell the property as they wish because it's theirs. They earned it. They saved up for it. They bought it. Whatever. So that is permitted. But for a Levi to have his share among the rest of the tribes was not permitted. Is that helpful?
Yep.
Verse 9, when you enter the land Yahweh your God has given you, you are not to learn how to follow the abominable practices of those nations. There must not be found among you anyone who makes his son or daughter pass through fire, a diviner, a soothsayer, an enchanter, a sorcerer, a spellcaster, a consulter of ghosts or spirits, or a necromancer. For whoever does these things is detestable to Yahweh your God. Because of these abominations, Yahweh your God is driving them out ahead of you. You must be wholehearted with Adonai your God. For these nations which you are about to dispossess, listen to soothsayers, diviners, but you, Yahweh your God, does not allow you to do this. Yahweh will raise up for you a prophet like me from among yourselves, from your own kinsmen. You are to pay attention to him, just as when you were assembled at Horeb and requested Yahweh your God, don't let me hear the voice of Adonai my God anymore, or let me see this great fire ever again. If I do, I will die. On that occasion, Adonai said to me, they are right in what they are saying. I will raise up for them a prophet like you from their kinsmen. I will put my words in his mouth, and he will tell them everything I order him. And that was Yeshua, our Messiah. Whoever doesn't listen to my words, which he will speak in my name, will have to account for himself to me. Who can stand before Yahweh and give account of himself?
Rabbi.
Yes, sir?
In there, is hypnotist also included in one of those
I couldn't understand you. Repeat.
Are hypnotists included in that grouping?
Could be.
Depends on the
They're
context.
messing with stuff they ought not to be messing with. Messing
Agree
with the
with that.
soul. The secret workings of the soul.
It depends on the context. Because there are many who are said they're hypnotists and they actually are addressing things that are right in line with what is here in Scripture, and then there are those who are in the medical field who use a form of hypnotherapy as a way to address damaged brain cells. So it depends on the context.
All I've got to say, if you want to go to a hypnotherapist, you better be careful.
Yeah.
Number one. Number two, if it doesn't work, he's proven himself to be a liar.
Well, that's the next verse.
Yes, sir.
Several people have asked me what the definition of a necromancer.
They are the ones that consult the dead or have sexual relations with the dead.
Wow.
Yuck.
Mainly it's consulting the dead. Like doing a seance.
Yeah.
They claim that's the dead souls from who have died. And that's necromancy. But if a prophet presumptuously speaks a word in my name which I didn't order him to say, or if he speaks in the name of other gods, that prophet must die. Oi gewalt. You may be wondering, how are we to know if a word has not been spoken by Yahweh? When a prophet speaks in the name of Yahweh and the prediction does not come true, that is, the word is not fulfilled, then Yahweh did not speak it. The prophet who said it spoke presumptuously. You have nothing to fear from him. We're down to chapter 19. And I guess we're going to just about need the rest of the time in order to cover it, unless I read really, really, really fast. When Yahweh your God cuts off the nations whose land Yahweh your God has given you, and you take their place and settle in their cities and houses, you are to set aside 3 cities for yourselves in your land that Yahweh your God has given you to possess. Divide the territory of your land, which Yahweh your God is having you inherit, into 3 parts, and prepare the roads so that any killer can flee to these cities. The killer who will live if he flees there is someone who has killed his fellow member of the community by mistake or who did not hate him in the past. An example would be if a man goes into the forest with his neighbor to cut wood and takes a stroke with the axe to fell a tree. But the head of the axe flies off the handle, hits his neighbor, and kills him. Then he is to flee to one of these cities and live there. Otherwise, the next of kin avenger, in the heat of his anger, may pursue the killer, overtake him because of the distance to the city of the refuge is long, and strike him dead even though he didn't deserve to die, inasmuch as he hadn't hated him in the past. This is why I am ordering you to set aside for yourself 3 cities. That's the precursor to our prison system. Originally, it was to protect the ones who would be hunted down by the relatives of someone who was killed. Verse 8, if Yahweh your God expands your territory as he swore to your ancestors that he would, and gives you all the land he promised to give your ancestors, provided you keep and observe all these mitzvot that I am giving you today, loving Yahweh your God as always, following his ways, then you are to add 3 more cities for yourselves beside these 3, so that the innocent blood will not be shed in the land Yahweh your God has given you as an inheritance, and thus blood guilt be on you. However, if someone hates his fellow member of the community, lies in wait for him, attacks him, strikes him a death blow, and then flees to one of these cities, then the leaders of his own town are to send and bring him back from there and hand him over to the next of kin avenger to be put to death. Now this would be like extradition, similar to extradition. You are not to pity him, rather you are to put an end to the shedding of innocent blood in Israel, and then things will go well with you. You're not to move your neighbor's boundary markers. When I was growing up, my father worried over something that was done in his community where an old tree was so big nobody could put their hands around. It'd take about maybe 5 or 6 people stretching out to get their hands around this tree. It was so huge.
Wow.
And it was a landmark. People came from all over to see it, not just because they wanted to know where the corner of the property was, but because they wanted to see this ancient tree. And that was a boundary marker. Surveyors used it to survey land by, and everybody understood that marker was critical to the community. So this would be the kind of a landmark that he's talking about here, a boundary marker. It could be a large boulder that's on the edge of a property that marks a specific spot where people know that's a corner of a lot. You see what I mean? That's the boundary marker.
Why did your father have a problem with that tree?
Because somebody cut it down.
Oh, man.
And he believed that they were breaking the word of Yahweh here by cutting it down.
Oh, I got you. Okay.
So anyway, he told me about that years after the fact. But I don't know what the situation was with the tree. Maybe it died and they were just removing it. I don't know. But that's something that's definitely, clearly not to be done, according to the Word of God.
Super quick question.
Yes.
Is a nation or its government or its officials guilty of breaking this law in the case of eminent domain?
I'm not sure regarding what aspect of it.
When a government or an entity, a state or official, attempts to use a method of eminent domain to change the territory of its citizens against their will?
Kind of like maybe, let's say the government wants to put in a library and it encroaches on somebody's property.
Yes.
And so they come
Use
in
a
and
light
they change
example,
the
which has happened here in Austin.
they change the description of that piece of parcel of land to suit their purposes. Right.
Condemning it, yeah.
Yeah. That could be a part of that, yeah.
Thank you.
Verse 15. One witness alone will not be sufficient to convict a person of any offense or sin of any kind. The matter will be established only if there are 2 or 3 witnesses testifying against him. If a malicious witness comes forward and gives false testimony against someone, then both the men involved in the controversy are to stand before Yahweh, before the Kohanim and the judges in office at that time. The judges are to investigate carefully, and if they find that the witness is lying and has been given false testimony against his brother, you are to do to him what he intended to do to his brother. In this way you will put an end to such wickedness among you. Now I want to look at this verse. That's verse 19 in the Hebrew. So I will widen my window back out here. And we will go down.
V'asitem lo ka'asher.
We're going down to chapter 19, verse 14.
Zamam la'asot le'akiv, to his brother.
There's a couple of words I want you to see in here. I believe this is where it's at. Is this where I found that word Hamas in here earlier? Or was that another verse?
No, it's another verse.
Melissa's witness. Perhaps.
Lo cum
That's verse 16.
ad, you shall not set up a witness,
16.
echad, one, ba'ish, in a man, lekol avon.
You were in 19.
I'm in
Yeah,
chapter 19, verse 15.
Chapter 19, verse 16 is if a malicious witness. So I'm thinking that might be the word in Hebrew he's looking for to answer with his question earlier.
No, I'm looking for Hamas.
Right, which is violence.
Yes.
Wouldn't that also be used, a violent witness?
Yeah, I'm
I'm
not
just saying,
seeing it, and I'm feeling a
Because
little
I'm
pressure on
looking through
time.
this- Yeah,
So,
we may have to move on because I'm looking through all of this, and that's the only thing that looks like it could be Hamas.
there it is. It's in the end of verse 15. Or
16.
is it 16?
It's got to be 16.
Yeah, it is. Hamas. There it is.
Mm-hmm.
Verse 16. It says, if a malicious witness comes forward and gives false testimony against someone, and this is ki yakum ad
Ed Hamas. Witness.
Hamas.
Violent witness. Ed Hamas.
Ed Hamas, upon you a evil or wicked ba'ish against a man, la'anot
Bo Sarah.
bo sarah, apostasy. Okay, so here this is the word Hamas, and it's literally. By implication, wrong. By metin, a just gain. Cruel, false, injustice, oppression. That's what was going on in the days of Noah, that God flooded the whole earth. That kind of thing. Interesting, huh?
Yep.
Anyway, I wanted you to see that word Hamas is in here, and it's the same word that was used in Genesis chapter, I believe it's chapter 9 or somewhere thereabouts, where it was talking about the violence of the men of the earth had increased, and the earth was filled with Hamas. And that's why God destroyed it.
Then we were at verse 20 of chapter 19. 20 and 21, the last verse.
Those, see, '21. Show no pity, life for life, eye for eye, tooth for tooth, hand for hand, foot for foot in your judgment.
Mm-hmm, there it is.
And that brings us to the end of this week's Torah Parsha. Next week we will be studying Ki
Wait a
Tate
second.
Say. Huh?
Chapter 21's end is super significant. Can we
But that's
address that
next
first?
week.
No, it's part of
20
this. It's part of this
20 and
story.
21 are part of this week.
Yeah. 21 is part
Ki
of
Tate Say, that's not next week's parsha.
No.
It starts in the middle of chapter 21.
Oh,
Well, 21 verse 21 verse 1 through verse 9 talks about something I have not seen nor heard anyone in Israel keep. And I would like to bring that up.
all
If
right,
this
let's
is
just
a-
read it in English here. And I'll open this window back
For
up
the sake of time,
again.
it addresses a murderer whose identity is unknown and what the people are supposed to do in the midst of such an incident, which is essentially have a barbecue. But
When you go out to fight your enemies and see horses, chariots,
no, 21, not 20, 21.
chapter 21?
Yeah, chapter 21, verse 1 through 9.
Okay, wait till I get
Yeah,
there.
chapter 20 is pretty extensively covered in your spiritual realm, advanced course lesson number.
Oh yeah, well here it is.
Yeah.
If in the land Yahweh your God is giving to you to possess, a murder victim is found lying in the countryside, and the perpetrator of the murder is not known, then your leaders and judges are to go out and measure the distance between it and the surrounding towns. After it, and what happened?
It's a vadi.
So God is giving you for the fine land. Blah, blah, blah. Then your leaders are to go out and measure the distance between it and the surrounding towns. And after it has been determined which town is the closest, the leaders of that town are to take a young female cow. That's the second time we've seen a heifer offered. That's not,
Is that an eglah?
That's
yeah,
what I'm
the
saying,
red
it's
heifer is not the
significant.
only one.
Yeah.
Okay. A young female cow that has never been put to work or yoked for use as a draft animal. The leaders of that town are to bring the heifer down to the vadi with a stream
That's right.
in it that never dries up, to a place that is neither plowed nor sown, and they are to break the cow's neck there in the vadi. Then the Kohanim, who are Levim, there it is, again repeating that, yeah, are to approach, for Adonai your God has chosen them to serve and to pronounce blessings in the name of Yahweh. They will decide the outcome of every dispute and matter involving violence. All the leaders of the town nearest the murder victim are to wash their hands over the cow whose neck was broken in the vadi. That should be like a valley, I believe. And then they are to speak up and say, this blood was not shed by our hands, nor have we seen who did it. That's a command that they're supposed to utter with their lips.
I have
Yahweh, forgive your people Israel, whom you redeemed. Do not allow innocent blood to be shed among your people Israel, and they will be forgiven this bloodshed. Thus you will banish the shedding of innocent blood from among you by doing what Yahweh sees as right. I will tell you that I don't have a clue how many times I have read the entire Bible, not just the Torah, but the entire Bible. And I have, every time I've read this, I've noticed this section. And to me, it's always been most interesting. The supernatural aspect of this that's going on here cannot be denied.
yes.
That when we wash our hands over this young calf and proclaim that our hands are innocent of this bloodletting, and that we did not do it, nor do we know who did it. And so therefore, we are making a statement that goes into the spiritual realm and produces innocence and victory for the people of Israel. That is an amazing section right there that I've given a lot of thought to. And to me, it's just astounding that this was in the Torah.
Yeah.
There are no other nations where that kind of a remedy is even offered. It's pretty cool.
Sadly, I've not ever witnessed or am aware that Israel current day or even in the last couple hundred years has ever been recorded keeping this.
Well, there's a problem with trying to keep it today. We have no temple, no altar, no priesthood. It says a priest should go out there, okay, and oversee the measurement between the cities and see which one's close. Well, we don't have a priest. How are we going to do that? Not a priest of the temple, not a high priest.
Yeah.
So it can't be done. So you're right. It hasn't been done in the past couple hundred years. Of course, it was in 70 A.D. when the temple was destroyed. So 70 A.D., that's roughly 2013 minus 70, whatever that turns out to be. So yeah, you're right.
2013 minus 70.
2016 minus 70, because 70 AD was when the temple was destroyed. So we've gone at least 1,900 and 30 years since it's been done.
Thank you.
Rabbi.
Interesting, though. Yes, sir?
When the temple is rebuilt, is this something that needs to be taken back up in practice?
Absolutely.
Oh, will it be necessary?
That's a good point. Would it be necessary?
Because that's when maybe Mashiach will be here by then, and he'll rule righteously. Well, that's all we have time for. I'm kind of out of juice again tonight, so
Rabbi.
yes?
We have one question from online.
Okay.
How does Palestine Hamas fit in today?
Well, as you know, Hamas is the rulers over Palestine. If you write the word Palestine out in Hebrew,
Philistine.
it comes out Philistine. It's the same word, the Philistines. And the Philistines have always been targeting Israel to destroy them. That's their lifelong ambition. From the day that Israel came into the land of Canaan until today. They're still under the same misguided, stupid, judgmental efforts to destroy Israel.
And that's who Samson destroyed with his,
Yes.
with the Philistines.
And Goliath.
Yep.
Goliath was the son of Anak. He was also one of the Philistines. So, yes, it's been here forever. But, you know, the adversary has always been out to destroy Israel. And the primary reason for it is found in Jeremiah. Is it Jeremiah? Yeah, Jeremiah 34, verse... I can't remember.
What does it say?
Anyway, it says that as long as there's a sun and a moon and tidal waves and seasons, that as long as these ordinances stay before Yahweh, there will always be a people of Israel.
Right.
And so now Hitler comes along. Oh, I can prove God's a liar. I'll just kill all the Jews, and
Wow.
we'll prove God wrong. Well, did he do it?
No.
We still have Jews today, and we have the land of Israel back alive and well. Yes, sir. Yeah. So anyway, so yeah, the Philistines have always been against the land of Israel. Hamas is what Palestine was organized for. It's actually Jordan, king of Jordan, kicked them out of Jordan because they were nothing but terrorists.
Oh, the group Hamas?
Yeah, he kicked them out of Jordan because they were terrorists. That's all they were. That was back in the 19-somethings. I must be getting old because my brain doesn't work well enough to recall the dates. Oh well, I speak blessings upon myself. I serve the God who restores the days of my youth.
Complimentary
Amen.
Messianic Isaiah 51:12 through Isaiah 53:12, which just so happens to reference Zion, I believe, 40 times, if you read
Yep.
from 51:12 to 53:12.
And what does the word Zion mean? The primary definition is city of David.
It's 51:12 to 52.
It's also synonymous with
53:12
Jerusalem.
if you go by Messianic adoption.
Did you know that?
What? I'm sorry.
In modern Hebrew, it's synonymous with Jerusalem.
Right,
Zionist.
which is why it uses Jerusalem many times.
Right.
Wow. Fascinating.
What he's referencing is the Haftarah for this week.
Yeah, the Haftarah is traditionally is 51:12 through 52:12, but there's a Messianic adaptation this time that takes it all the way to 53:12.
Okay.
Question or comment?
No, just making you aware of that.
Okay. All right, then. I guess we're out of time, so I'd like to thank all of you who showed up online tonight and studied with us. I hope you got something out of the study. And don't, just remember, we're going to be doing this every week. Any weeks that we can't do it on, then we may make some alternative arrangements. I may have Yochanan come teach class if we're out or whatever. Would that be agreeable to you, sir? Okay. So we'll always have something here for you on Tuesday night, the Lord willing, unless incumbent weather strikes again.
Are you making fun of your wife?
No, I wouldn't do that. I got to go to sleep sometime. Anyway, it's a wonderful thing to serve the Lord.
With joy.
Absolutely. The joy of the Lord is my strength.
Amen.
And Yahweh Roi
Lexar.
Lo Ixar. All right. Well, everybody be well. Lord, please help people hold on to the truths that they're learning in these classes, and ask you to help them to cause these truths to become more across the board, universally acceptable in their understanding of Torah and of the parashat, and that they will learn more about Rav Shaul and all the other apostles and Yeshua as a result of the expansion of understanding that they get from our Tuesday night classes. So we thank you for it and give honor and praise to your name in the name of Messiah Yeshua. Amen. And also, please remember our Sabbath service on Shabbat. Saturday morning at 10 a.m. I have a class that I teach, and then followed at 11 by our morning service. And then on Sundays, we replay our morning class, which is really very popular, on the Bridge Radio, 11:20 a.m. on your radio dial. All right, that's it. God bless you all, and please go with God and be well.
Thank you for joining us for this evening's Torah class. We hope that you enjoyed it, and especially we hope that you learned and dive into the riches and the glory of Yahweh. So please stay tuned for another class next week, same time at 7 p.m. But in the meantime, join us for our Shabbat services. That's Saturday morning at 10 a.m. for our Bibles Issues class and 11 a.m. main service. We'll see you again. Shalom, shalom.